we do these values for life series, and we had this talk, the ninth episode, it was on determination. So we were very, very lucky that Sister Shivani was able to join us despite being engaged in many other things. It was held last Sunday, 21st March 21. So I'll just quickly go on to what she was saying. So she said that we all have used this power of determination to create miracles in the outside world. And why? It's because it's a determined thought which changes that thought into reality. So all of us need to determine that we have many thoughts, as Dr. Mehta was also saying, thoughts are there, but in our short term and long term we need to work on them. And the thought, we have to put an adjective on that thought. We have to have determination in that thought. And it was beautifully amazing. Sister Shivani pointed it out that just scan your life from childhood to now and see what we have achieved so far. So that's what we did in the first activity also. In the second activity, what are the attributes of a determined person? So all of us have this value of determination, but we sort of forget it over a period of time. So Sister Shivani reminded us that we all could do it right from childhood, even up till now, till this day. Why? Because we have this power of determination. So she converted determination, though, is a value, but she said it's also a power, because with this power you can really achieve miracles in life. Then coming on to power, she said that it's our innate value. It is the willpower which we have, which really feeds. Willpower is feeding into the determination. Because there is so much of willpower we have, we can really achieve determination. And she mentioned three things here, that first we have to decide what is right or wrong in my life. I know now what is right. The second step then is the method. I need to work on the vidhi. Vidhi se siddhi kehte hain na? We have Sister Vidhi with us. It always reminds me of her name. It's such a beautiful name. Vidhi means the method, which Baba says in the Murlis also. What is your method to achieve that? And third thing is then we have to, after working on that method, we need to make it a reality. That's what Sister Shivani said. And all the time she was pointing out that choose not what you want to be in life, sorry, not what to be in life, but choose how to be. So it's always on the being aspect, which she always covers. So she gave an example here that 50 years ago, no one had imagined that with a single click of a button, and it's really becoming a reality now. On the Zoom portal, someone is joining from Hungary, someone is joining from UK, someone from Madhuban. So everyone is just, I mean, we are all connected just on the click of a button. And how has this happened? Because some scientists had discovered technology in the form of internet, many other things. So this one determined thought has a ripple effect. So all thanks to that scientist. So if the human mind can create magic for the outer world, then the same power can be used for the inner world. And Sister Shivani again and again was trying to take us that please move out from the external world and now go into your inner world. And again, the same line comes that the determination is not what I want to do, but what I want to be. So, we have to move or shift ourselves from the human doing to the human being aspect. The being is very important, because how am I supposed to be to achieve success and determination? So she again said that there are many external things. 2020 is a very eventful year, all of you know. It came to challenge our determination. So though we were very determined before 2020, but some big situation outside, the pandemic, it just took over us fully. So she said that this is something external. So in the inner world, there are no external factors which can become hurdles. So we have to again here choose how to be. So my responses to external situations is nothing but what I choose how to be. So come what may from outside, from the external world, its reality is it is the inner world which we have actually given up. So actually, though Corona came into our lives, but internally we were not so strong enough. Our inner world was not so strong enough. Therefore, COVID took over us. And how do we now move back to empowering this inner world? So it's nothing but spirituality and meditation, which I'm sure Gopi sister with her sharings will really elucidate this in detail. But there's no other power. It's this inner power which we have to really enhance, and we can only enhance this by connecting to the divine. So this gives us the power to shift from the noisy world to a mind which is pure, divine, which is silent, and which is full of unconditional acceptance. It reminds me of a nice mnemonic which I very often use in a few talks when we give mind. What is this mind? If you just break the word, I just like to say my inner noisy doctor. So, I mean, or rather, I must say, my inner noisy devil. So, let us just convert this, because my mind is my best friend, right? So, I don't need to say it's my inner noisy devil. No, I must say it's my inner noble doctor. And the moment I say that my mind is my noble doctor, there you are. It will really start healing you. Then she said the word success in Hindi, it's called safalta. So, safal means sahafal. Sahafal means with the fruit. And she also said safal karna means worthwhile. In Hindi, we say koi bhi cheez ko safal karna is to make it worthwhile. So all the things, time, energy, need to be used in a worthwhile way. As again, Dr. Mehta said that in the short-term goal, which he said that he wants to avoid gossip, he wants to avoid being more on the technology, because that is really wasting our time and energy. So that's what she meant about success, which means a worthy life. For the outside world, this definition of success is how much we achieve in the form of external achievements. But what she said that success is how much I am a giver. So this is a big paradigm shift which the which the world needs to understand. And it is, we can only achieve this when we shift from our desires, ichha, from wanting, asking, shift to giving, being a devta. And this will really invoke the divinity within. She also said we cannot blame the time 2020. Everyone has blamed the time, that how come this pandemic came, and when will this time change? When will the pandemic cease? Many things. But we really can't change the external world. We can't change the COVID virus, but we need to create the inner magic. And now it's the time for change, because it's the time for awakening. And then she told us about the sleeping mode and wake up mode. As you can see, it's mentioned in front of you. Sleeping mode really means when we are leading a life which is full of dependencies. Adhintai. I'm just so dependent on maybe people, on situations, on technology, for everything in my life. And I'm just waiting for the world to change. I'm waiting for people to change their habits, their sanskars. But I don't want to work on my inner being. So that's the sleeping mode. But the real wake up mode, she said, is now awaken your life to a new way of thinking, to a new way of belief systems. We all have n number of belief systems inside us, that अरे ये तो होता ही नहीं है मुझसे, ये तो है ही ऐसा. So many things. So we really need to awaken that no, I can do it. I have this inner power of determination to do, and which will help me in changing my lifestyle. And this will only happen if I evoke and invoke the divinity inside me. So divinity, invoking divinity can only happen, again, remember my dear friends, through spirituality and meditation. And I'm sure the next half hour will be very enlightening from that point of view. Again, it's the same repetition, but I would just want to cover one thing, that we have to shift this again and again from dependence to giving. And that is, in short, if you can mention, from expectations to acceptance. Then she said we need to really keep working on ourselves, and we can do that by practicing these three things. As in the Murlis also it's mentioned, we have to stop ourselves in between the entire daily routine, check, and then change. These are very few, I mean, very three simple English words, but they're very powerful. The moment you do them, the moment you stop your repetitive, your negative, your ways thinking, you get a time to check yourself, and then you also get a time to change. And sometimes we are not able to change because we don't have the power inside. So that power we can only get by what she said was affirmative vocabularies. She said it's a spiritual law. You are your thoughts. We all know we are what we think, and we become as we think. So thoughts create our reality. So all of us need to work on our thoughts. And therefore it's said in Hindi, Sankalp se Siddhi, because thoughts manifest. She gave us a few beautiful tips on how to practice meditation, because she said meditation is like sowing the seed of thought. And these three important powers we need to realize: the power of affirmation, that is positive thoughts; the power of visualization, which we always say is looking at from the third eye, from the inner eye, what I want to achieve, that's visualization. And third is power of experience, which in Murlis it's mentioned, Anubhav ki authority banu. How can I use my experience to develop more determination? So she said, we are going to use the same method again, that is to affirm, to visualize, and to make it happen every single day of my life. Also, she touched upon meditation is not thoughtlessness. It is to take a thought what you want to be, and by using the affirmative vocabulary, you just work on it. For example, I need to say to myself, I am a divine being. I can't say, I want to be divine. I hope I can become a divine being. I should be. No, this is like just something, it's again Adhinta, it's dependent. So you just have to tell yourself, I am a divine being, and those vibrations will start appearing. So we need to move from this shift from wanting to becoming. So I can't keep expecting, I want respect, I want happiness. No, I am a divine being, so I keep giving respect. I am happy, I am peaceful. And the last slide, I just have a couple of minutes. So she just gave us these few small tips. So prepare your mind the first thing in the morning when we wake up. So that's the first thing when we wake up in the morning, what thought is coming. So that thought is important. In the entire day, keep checking at it. Take care of your mind. I do not believe the I am victim to people and situations. You need to keep checking that every minute, maybe every traffic control, or in the West, we have this jam, just a minute, this experiment which people have done abroad, where every hour, every minute you stop and check entire day. You just look at it, keep check, and then change on what waste has happened in the past. Every hour we need to do this traffic control, which is a beautiful thing in Brahma Kumaris. We do that. We have the 3-minute meditation song at particular intervals of the time in the day, which helps us repeat that affirmation to me and visualize. That few other times is before going to sleep, a very important time. I need to again revise my affirmation of the morning. Also, before every meal, it's important. We have at least 3 meals a day. You know, we are what we eat. Jaisa anna vaisa man. So we need to realize that food is not only the food energy, the physical energy in the form of nutrients, that is proteins, carbs, and fat. No, there are many other vibrations. It's about the vibration of the person cooking. And it's about, therefore, at Brahma Kumaris, Sister Gopi will be elucidating on that in detail. But you know, we don't eat from outside because the outside food is full of other vibrations which we don't want to consume. That is the vibration of money and so on and so forth. And last thing is, also she mentioned, I remember about Dadi Gulzar, that at least 7 to 8 times in a day we drink water. So it's important that when you drink water, pause for maybe half a minute. Try to empower that water, because water is a liquid energy which you are taking in directly, and you can really change the vibrations of water. You know, the Japanese scientist Emoto, his experiments on water, the water crystals. So Dadi Gulzar always in her classes used to mention this. All of us really remember Dadi Gulzar a lot because, you know, it is this month where she left the mortal coil. And this is a beautiful example which Sister Shivani gave. So I don't have questions for determination, but I'll just quickly cover this one, that someone asked that people who are determined have a purpose of life. And what is the real purpose of my life? So she said that the purpose of life is to become an agent of change, not only for the self, but also the world. So we don't need to really achieve success in the form of building bungalows, having a lot of money. No, I just need to become an agent of that change. So not only for the self, but also for the world. So with this, I will just, there's just another slide. Don't worry, we will be sending you the PDF copies. So don't get disheartened that, you know, we are really pressed with time in these workshops. I sometimes feel that we should be doing it for 2 hours or so.
And
but with this, I'll just...
before you welcome Sister Gopi, that's our the final highlight of this session. I'll just take 1 minute because there are so many new people. So Sister Vidhi has been announce that if you want to receive the information of our programs coming up, like it happens every alternate weekends, please leave your contact emails in the chat box and we will add you in, and you will also receive these summary slides and the sharings that we took today. And another thing is, I'll just share to show this slide that people have been asking that recordings of the program. So all the sessions that have been done, you can find in this YouTube playlist. So please, you can note it down. That is omshanti.tk/workshops, and today's session will also be added in few days. So you can see all the sessions there and take benefit. So please leave your contact in the chat box. And now, without further delay, yes, Brother Manoj, you can share again, and please let's welcome Sister Gopi.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Sister. I hope the screen is visible with Sister Gopi's slide. Am I correct, Sister Anu?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so let me just invite a much awaited speaker. Sorry, Sister Gopi, we are giving you 3 minutes late. I'll take 1 more minute because I need to introduce you to this audience. Actually, I know Sister Gopi since a long time. All of you have listened to her talks, and the beautiful thing about her sharing is she goes in the depth of the particular thing, but keeps it as simple as it is, and you never feel that you have gone in the depth. Beautiful speaker. She has been with Brahma Kumaris since 1979. She has dedicated her life since many years, almost practicing Raja Yoga since, I must say, 35 to 40 years. She was raised in Africa, but educated in UK and India both. So she carries this, she's got this beautiful blend of Eastern spiritual wisdom and the Western education and culture where she was raised. And I must also say that, particularly in the Brahma Kumaris, her primary attention has been on the spiritual empowerment of young adults. And she has therefore been instrumental for this. She has overseen the growth of what we call the International Youth Forum, the IYF. That's the program they run, and she is heading that and a powerful instrument of that, along with Sister Dipti from Africa. And she's been doing it since the early 90s, so it's almost 30 years now. So without much ado, I'll just stop sharing, and we really welcome Sister Gopi. Over to Sister Gopi. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So first of all, thank you, Manoj Bhai. Thank you, Anuben, for the very kind and sweet invitation to join all of you. And I'd like to just invite everyone into a moment of peace. I think you've heard a lot, and sometimes these pauses of silence help us to digest what we've actually heard. So wherever you are, just sit up straight. Feel your feet on the floor, spine erect. And just take a few moments to scan your body and allow any tension in your body, various parts of your body, to relax as you breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in oxygen and breathe away the tension. So tension in your feet, your legs, your stomach. Just exhale it as you breathe. And just allow the mind to relax. Allow it to be in this present moment now. And give yourself full. There's nothing to think. There's nothing to do. You can completely and totally rest in this moment now. And just feel the mind relax, the body ease up. As you reclaim your serenity again. And then you become aware of yourself inside. A very subtle living force. And you allow all that energy to concentrate behind the eyes. All this living energy concentrates into a star of light and a star of peace. for a few moments, you experience a natural detachment from even the costume of your body. And now, slowly, in your mind, repeat this thought to yourself. I am a being of peace. I am a being of peace. I am a being of the deepest peace. Surrender to that peace. And slowly open your eyes and look out in front of you. Being aware of yourself as a being of peace inside. Om Shanti. I call these moments delicious moments. And they're delicious because you soak in a very pure energy. And as you soak in your peace, then very slowly love starts to grow. Patience starts to grow. Tolerance starts to grow. So many things flower from a space of deep, deep peace. And I'm so aware in the world today how I've observed in the last 20 odd years an explosion of spiritual shopping mall, a shopping mall of spirituality out in the world. And yet there are two very distinct tracks. There's the path of self-development, which very much focuses on doing to be. So it's like overcoming anger. It's based on improving a weakness. Stress, managing stress. If you're disorganized with time, going to do some time management. And there's a plethora of courses and self-development stuff out there. Then there's another track, which is perhaps more subtle and perhaps a slightly simpler and easier route to self-empowerment. And that's the spiritual track. And that only has one purpose, is that it fundamentally uses the power of meditation to awaken the spirit, to awaken the energy that is called the soul. And this energy is an energy that is even beyond thoughts. Thoughts are a very gross manifestation. The mind is also a child of the soul, the mother. And the more that there is empowerment at a spiritual level, where spiritually we enable ourselves to soak in peace, to realize the love that we have inside, to access our inner knowledge. All of that is revealed when we start to meditate. It's not something you have to do, it's something you have to let happen. And it's almost like when you sit still long enough, something else starts to happen. Sometimes with having too many thoughts to think, It's a bit like injecting yourself with glucose. So you get a boost because it's a nice thought, but it has no sustainability. And you'll keep kind of going, okay, I have to think it again and again and again. So suddenly we develop mantras to exist. And we put the mind that is already pressured under more pressure. Well, now I have to be spiritual. Let me take a mantra. Let me repeat it 10 times in my head. So, for me, spirituality is not about 2 thoughts for this and 3 thoughts for that and 5 thoughts for that. It's not working at the thought level. It's deeply doing what we just did earlier, taking a pause and letting all the energy settle and letting what is intrinsic emerge. It will come out by itself. When you think about natural processes, and when you think about water, the quality of water, we can disturb water. So imagine a calm lake. We can throw stones into it. We can create ripples and we can disrupt it. So imagine the stones being our thoughts. They might be good thoughts. They might be bad thoughts, but whatever, they're still creating a ripple in our mind. But when you stop throwing those stones or those pebbles or those rocks, do the ripples stay? They don't. Water returns back to its original state of stillness. And so I need to trust that deep inside who I really am, my original nature of peace and stillness is my core. And if I just get off the bandwagon of trying to even achieve something, even in a self-development mode, because that can be progressive for a certain period of time, but after a period of time you can get tired, you'll stop, because you're still having to use the energy of thoughts to do things, when there is actually underneath a thought, there is a vast ocean of power called the soul that is available. Now, I'd like to make a distinction between determination and willpower, because willpower is the ability to exercise self-control in any given moment in time. So it's how I can conduct myself to my best in this moment now, exercising self-control. Whereas determination in Hindi, when we use the word in Hindi, dradta or drad sankalp, I use that, it's more about being purposeful. And purposeful is an interesting thing, because many times I get asked the question, how do I know I'm living my purpose? What is my purpose? Yes, somebody can tell you it's to be an agent of change. Yet when you look at the backdrop of how things work in the drama, imagine every human being like a piece of the jigsaw. There's a big jigsaw puzzle that has a beautiful, bright new world. And every human is a little jigsaw piece of that puzzle, i.e., they have a part to play in helping to bring about a change in the world. And that is in the DNA, spiritual DNA of the soul, that's intrinsic inside. And you cannot not live your purpose. You're living it in each moment. But what you're not doing is you're not seeing it and you're not recognizing it. There's too much other traffic in the way. There's too much other noise in the way. And so being aligned with purpose, in purpose, is actually being determined. Because imagine a seesaw, and you've got the midpoint, which is purposeful living, on target living, right? And then if it's off balance, too much of it becomes force, where suddenly it's like, that's what I'm going to do and nobody's going to stop me. And you've just lost balance when you've said that sentence. Because the moment you say nobody's going to stop me, the only 2 words your subconscious hears, because your subconscious will accept is stop me. So suddenly you'll be inviting all kinds of things in your life to stop you because you've lost your internal balance of remaining purposeful. And you've made determination a reaction that opposes something outside. So, when determination becomes force, where it's a reactive energy, it doesn't work. The other side of determination is slackness, where, whatever I get, however I get it, whatever's there, it's fine, no problem. It's like a laissez-faire attitude, where you're not living on purpose, but you're expecting something to just the red carpet to roll out for you. So, this whole midpoint of remaining purposeful, on purpose, I would say. And this morning, as I was meditating, I had the feeling very deeply how the foundation of a determined attitude, and I'm going to reword this. I'm going to just use the word a purposeful attitude, which is a much softer and more focused terminology. It's quieter, it's purposeful. It's not loud, it's not showy, it's not forceful. But a purposeful attitude is cleanliness. Deep cleanliness in my attitude. And when I sat in front of God this morning and I said to God, I had this clear feeling, I don't want anything. And I had this very deep realization that what it is that prevents us from acting out our desires. The attitude is always at a level of attention. It's like any desire holds your attitude in a certain space of tension. And then from that place of tension, you're trying to set a goal and achieve this and that. It's not going to work. That's like an artificial exercise. Behind that attitude, you've got to shift the space of that attitude. It has to become very clean. And in that cleanliness, what starts to develop very naturally is a clarity, because your purpose becomes obvious. It takes the form of thoughts that you just know this is the right thing to do. This is the thing to do. That's how your purpose reveals itself. It reveals itself in the form of a clear intellect with very clear thoughts. You don't create a clear thought. It's a byproduct of being clean. So I felt that, if I want to become efficient and productive in my life, it's less about externalizing my focus on something and more about spending good quality time cleaning. And this is where I think meditation has an absolutely crucial role to play. Because, you can meditate without God. It's absolutely there. Many people can. You can sit, contemplate on your own inner qualities, on your peace, your love, and you can get. But to sustain all of that and to achieve deeper levels of peace and to heal old wounds that are actually the springboard of our distractions. When we have sorrow inside, we can't face ourselves. We run here, we run there, we run the other. We have this want, that want. Wants are a byproduct of a deeper pain and sorrow. So, when we sit with God, the Supreme, there's such a sweetness when you let that very pure divine energy into your heart and mind. And it's a bit like being a baby, being a baby and going back into your mother's lap. There's such a sense of contentment when a baby's in its mother's lap. The baby doesn't think. It's crying 1 minute, it's upset 1 minute, but then the mother doesn't say to the baby, well, think this and then you'll be content. It just picks up the baby and puts it in its lap. And the baby rests its head against the mother's chest, and it just feels like it's at one with its mother. And that's what for me, meditation with God does, is you just allow yourself to be with the Supreme in such a way that you feel this backbone of pure energy that's just there with you, supporting you consistently, available for you 24/7. And when there's that sense of very sweet contentment inside, you can start to keep your attitude free and clean from a lot of other kind of, oh, I have to do this. Oh, maybe I have to do that. Oh, maybe you have to do that. Oh, just calm, serene, content, and clear. And then the thoughts that arise in your mind, because your DNA and your purpose is already inbuilt you, there's a programming inside you, it will start to reveal itself in the form of very clear thoughts. You just know what you have to do. And then you just quietly act on what you have to do very quietly. There's no need to tell anybody. There's no need to prove yourself. There's no need to argue with anybody. There's no need to justify anything. You just act on your purpose in a very quiet and lovely way, peaceful way. And you go about living your life. Sometimes I find on the field of self-development, motivational speakers can perhaps create a sense of unnaturalness. Oh, we have to do this. So suddenly spirituality becomes a means of doing something to become spiritual. And it takes away from the actual natural process of being spiritual. It's a very, very natural process to be. Just leave yourself long enough to be. And I feel that, we've kind of bought into a very fast-paced society. We think speed is efficiency. And we think where there's speed, that's how it... And so somewhere inside, we have to recalibrate the kind of false notions of life that we've bought into. And regulate and recalibrate ourselves and pace ourselves again. So I don't need to start thinking the moment I wake up in the morning. I don't need to pick up the mobile phone the moment I wake up in the morning. But I can sit and I can let the baby wake up. And I can hold the baby. And I can let the baby be cradled and it's in the lap of the Supreme Mother and just enjoy the bliss of being held. And then trust that whatever is in my purpose will reveal itself to me. Now, we have, over time, I have to admit, as human beings, we've become humans doings, because even to think is an act. And it's doing something. And for me, you need a certain level of thoughts, definitely, that help you move in the direction of being. But there comes a point when you have to even let go of the thought and let the being take over. I don't know if you've ever watched in the Olympics pole vaulting. You know how somebody's holding a pole and they run and they run and they're building momentum with that pole. And suddenly the pole hits the ground and they're catapulted above a bar. But to get to the other side of the bar, they've got to let go of that pole. That's exactly what a certain amount of thoughts are needed for. If your thoughts are following the right method to go inward, there comes a point where they'll catapult you into the state of being. And then you don't need to live your life. And the more you exercise that place of being, guess what? If there's petrol in the car runs. If there's no petrol in the car, it stops and starts. And then you need to keep turning the key. You need to give it a push. And then that's why in the self-development field, you get a lot of people going, well, you need 3 thoughts for this and 5 thoughts for this and 10 thoughts for this and 7 thoughts for this. And it's like, well, how many thoughts are you going to have? How long are you going to keep pushing your car like that? How long are you going to keep injecting yourself with temporary glucose? So for me, it's about really accessing that deep inner spiritual petrol and keeping myself nourished at that level that allows all my other functions in my life to work naturally, which they will when there's the right quality of petrol inside. If the petrol is mixed, the car stutters. So if the energy that I'm holding inside is unclean, then guess what? My mind won't work properly. I won't be able to access good thoughts. I won't be able to sustain positive thoughts, because the mind is only a product of the soul. It's actually, in fact, it's nothing. We give it life. And in giving it life because of our negative thoughts, it's become an egoic mind where suddenly the child, which is the mind, starts to tell the mother what to do. And I think we've also bought into a culture where we believe everything we think. And there's so much of like a stream of thinking that's a product of habits, old habits, mixed habits. It's our default position. And so what I find is that the more I have an accurate method of meditation that takes me back to a very deep space of peace and stillness inside, then all my functions, all my other functions, my mental function, my intellectual function, my doing, my creating function, my creative function will automatically flow. So what kind of business do you want to do? Wholesale or retail? You can do lots of retail business. So you can expand your mind, your mental capacities. You can expand your intellectual capacities. But if you don't have the wholesale products, if you don't have the petrol in the car, there's a limit to how much you can actually accomplish at a mental, intellectual level. And so for me, is to understand the ebb and essence of how life works. When a baby is born, it's perhaps one of the most vulnerable beings in the whole world. And yet it's never born into this world with a doubt. It's never born into this world with a thought, oh, well, I'm so little, how am I going to survive? It's born into this world with full trust. And it's like it's on automatic pilot. It's living out its purpose. You'll have seen children that come with certain DNAs where they start playing music from a young age. They start showing skills from a young age. It's all inbuilt and it's so natural to them. They're not even thinking about it. It's just coming out. So, our purpose is inside us and it's playing itself out the whole time. But I think we tend to get in the way because we artificially create thoughts and constructs, mental constructs that inhibit a very natural spiritual process. And so some spiritual education is required to actually understand processes bigger than myself so that I don't personalize everything in life. Because, there are 3 different energies at work here. There's the energy of the divine, and then there's my own energy, me as a human package and my story and my issues in my story. And then there's the collective karma, the drama of life. And these 3 are working together. It's not just one thing. So I feel very deeply, perhaps we need to make a better case for spirituality. That's not diluted by the self-development mode, because when we start to access the reservoirs of peace, the reservoirs of wisdom, the reservoirs of love, the reservoirs of power inside, then automatically the voice in your head has intelligence in it. It just knows. You just know what to do. And your life becomes so natural. There's no hiccups. You can give generously, you can give freely, there's no inhibitions. The issues begin when, out of misunderstanding, I take sorrow. Sorrow inhibits my ability to remain on purpose. Because when I'm holding on to anything in my attitude at any level, something about my own past, something about the past of other people, then I am the only one that has to work harder. And so that's why in meditation isn't just for accessing those reservoirs, but meditation is for deep healing and cleaning. So that I create a very, very clean space, a clean attitude inside. That's just free of any wants and is filled with the contentment of knowing that God is my companion. And from that place, you'll realize, I've observed in my own life, that you actually operate on very few thoughts. You operate off something that is not just a thought, but you develop perspective. You develop a very clear vision of what you have to do. The vision is not developed by thinking. Vision is a portal of seeing that opens up when things are clean. You know, the clouds have dispersed, and you see. So spiritual vision is a very deep inner seeing of the reality that is spiritual. And then there's no need to think. You will only have to think if you've taken on board sorrow of any kind. If you realize the seed of a lot of different thought processes, it's rooted in some form of denial. Because if you have negative thoughts, then guess what? You're going to have positive thoughts to compensate, right? You're going to have to make extra effort to be positive. I mean, and I know in our early morning teachings, the Murli, you know, there isn't the terminology positive and negative because they're polarized. Positive, negative states are still polarized states. The word that's used is satya. The word that's used is real, is truth. What is real right now? What's true right now? What's true in your being right now? Feel that, let that grow. Don't feed into what's untrue inside yourself and let that grow. Feed into what's true in your being right now and let that grow. Let God's light rest on it and let that light grow more. Eventually, what is untrue will dissipate. Because when you switch on the light, the darkness disappears. So being determined has very little for me in my book to do with setting goals and to do with kind of time management. And that's old language, I feel now. It has deeply to do with developing a clean attitude, developing a foundation of inner cleanliness that automatically allows the intelligence of my purpose to reveal itself as a thought or as a perspective, as a vision. And the beautiful thing about that is that you can be on purpose and be dharana yukt. So your qualities flourish with your focus, which means every relationship you're engaged in being purposeful is nourished. You know what happens sometimes when we get determined in the goal-oriented and goal-focused sense? Is that you focus on the task, you forget the relationships. You're so focused that people in your life are not nourished by your presence. Whereas when you're living on purpose, because you're so relaxed inside and there's clarity in your mind's eye of what to do, then people receive the benefits of your goodness and your qualities at the same time. And so both things are accomplished. What you're meant to be part of, a bigger picture, and what you're meant to be doing happens. And at the same time, you start to enjoy some very beautiful relationships. So I'd like to stop there. And knowing that time is moving forward.
We actually have a lot of time, so we don't need to worry about that because we gave you also a bit late. So it's all up to you.
Okay, so I can pause there for the moment and just perhaps just throw it out to people. What are you understanding or feeling from what I've shared? And is there anything you'd like clarified further?
Yeah, so you want the participants to interact, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, okay, thanks. So I'll just, so if you all have any questions and if you all want any clarifications on the depth of what Sister Gopi was saying, you all can ask your questions. Please feel free to do that. You all can unmute yourself now.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Who's speaking?
This is Rati. Om Shanti.
Yeah, go ahead. Om Shanti. Yeah.
Om Shanti, Sister Gopi. No matter what I have tried, my mind just works overtime all the time. So how do I work on the determination part if my minds or thoughts are always going on and on, no matter how much I try?
I think you'll have to put the word determination to one side for the moment.
Okay.
And maybe you've realized that for yourself, you've actually maybe overused a faculty. Let's just think about your mind like a hand. And if I put a glass of water on my hand for 1 minute, it's okay, I can hold it. But if it's there for 1 minute, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, what's going to happen to my hand? It's going to start to ache, right?
Mm-hmm.
1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and I put more weight on, it's going to ache more. And then even if I take everything off, what happens? The ache still stays in my hand. So what you're perhaps dealing with is, some ache to your mind, some damage to the mind because of having overused it. Which means for a period of time, the first step is to actually regulate yourself a little bit physically. Regulate where you put your energies, make a conscientious effort to actually physically relax. Because when you make a conscientious effort to physically relax, the mind also relaxes physically. So physical relaxation would be a very important entry point for you right now, to actually aid the mind to mentally relax, because the body, the senses, and the mind are very deeply connected. And if we've been on senses overdrive, then it's like bombarding this poor little mind with a gazillion things that's beyond its mental capacity at this point. So first step is to just find spaces of relaxation physically, to be able to let the mind recalibrate again, find its capacity and its space again. And that you're going to have to look at your physical lifestyle, your timetable, and you're going to have to actively put in spaces for physical relaxation. You can't continue a spiritual education on top of an incapacitated mind. It's just too much. It can't absorb it. So I would suggest a review of your physical lifestyle. You may need to now say no to a few things and perhaps really take on some form of activity that helps you to physically relax. And try that for a bit until you feel like, yeah, my mental space is feeling a bit clearer. Then you can take things forward from that point.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Om Shanti.
Gopi Ben, you have been very, very effective. I have always watched you, seen you, and always been impressed by your peace and your personality. Now I know the answer. Dropping the mind, what Baba says, kya, kyun, kaise, kab, drop all the questions, put a full stop, what Baba says, which probably is an effort to, you have talked in a beautiful way, like being a baby in a mother's lap or Baba's lap. I think that's the answer that you have given us. As a matter of fact, our determination has gone haywire because we have been always talking of achievements and long-term, short-term goals and things like that. So I think what you have said is a real spirituality. To be real spiritual, we have to go back to spending more and more time with ourselves, go deeper in ourselves, and go to the bottom of the sea and find those pearls there. Thank you very much. You have been so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok Bhai. Nice to see you. It's been a long time since we connected.
And Archana, sister, we'll just take your last sharing questions. And go ahead.
Also, there's a beautiful question on the chat box. Can we take 2 questions?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
First, I'll take the chat box question, then Archana, sister. So, Neeraj asks that, sister, I heard you say we induce sorrow when thoughts are driven by desires. Can you please elaborate more with example?
In fact, the statement I made was that the root of desires is sorrow. So if there's some sorrow in our system, it will perpetuate desire. Because, desires are wants and needs that are maybe not needs, but more like desires, attractions that make us go out. We only go out if there's something inside us that's not nice. Otherwise, there's no reason for us not to enjoy our own company. So, maybe you want appreciation because you've been unappreciated, you haven't been seen, you haven't been recognized. Many, many forms of subtle and gross desires, trying to prove yourself in life. Maybe felt bad, taken on board something your parents said to you or something school friends said to you when you were a child. And so all of these things sit as subtle forms of sorrow, stuff that we've taken on, acquired identities we've taken on. That's not really who I am, but I've somehow believed this is who I am. So then I spend my whole life trying to react to that. And that's what manifests as a desire. And that's why it's so important on a spiritual journey, is to deeply drop into this space of, no matter what beliefs I may hold about myself, I, the soul, am beyond belief. Beliefs are only a part of my acquired identity. What is a belief? It's only an experience, right? I grew up in Africa. And in Africa, about 40 years ago, we'd leave the front door open, nothing would happen. 10 years later, after that, about 25, 30 years ago, suddenly there was a robbery in our neighborhood. So my first belief was the neighborhood's safe. I feel safe in my neighborhood. And then when the robbery happens and people come in and they take stuff, then suddenly it feels unsafe. Suddenly my belief has changed. So beliefs are very transient things. They are not the fundamental basis of our identity. And I feel that as we access this space of eternity inside, that I am a soul, spiritual being that has moved through eternity, deeply connected with the Supreme, then I can let go of these limited belief systems, be they positive or negative. And I can feel clean again. I can feel pure again. And it's this space and sweetness of experiencing my inner purity that starts to clean me at a very deep level. It releases me from the limitations that I sometimes hold on to. That's why I say the connection with God is so, so important, because you need a parent figure to help you with that. A child sometimes cannot stop crying by itself. It has to get into the lap of the parent. And that support is so incredibly available for us because Baba's an ocean of love, an ocean of purity, an ocean of knowledge, an ocean of every quality you can possibly imagine. It's completely consistent. And this is available to us 24/7. And so the moment I just let go of striving and I just step into resting in my Father's lap, and my mother's lap. That's when the real work starts to happen. The pure, benevolent embrace of the mother and the father soothe the soul. And as the soul starts to feel the purity of God's being and presence, that purity starts to clean the soul of any old beliefs it may hold on to itself. So, you know what I'd recommend is every morning when you wake up and you look into the mirror, just ask yourself one question. How does God see me today? How does God see me now? Start the day being held in the vision of your Supreme Parent.
Thank you, Gopi sister. Beautiful. Archana sister, your last question. Thanks.
Actually answered quite a lot of my question already in this previous answer that you just gave. Probably I can say the telepathy. Well, I still have, this thought in my mind that you mentioned that we need to be away from the consciousness of even thinking. And I've heard even Dadi Janki mention this many times, that don't think. Like, not only like don't think evil, but don't think also I've heard from her. So it's an effort in the meditation and throughout the day through traffic control to minimize the thoughts and minimize it to powerful and positive. Yet when you talk about the cleaning process, I'm just trying to understand from your experience that in the meditation, as the way I have learned and I'm practicing is about having a commentary in my mind and feeling that in the supreme world, in the subtle world, and the visions that we create. So what is the ultimate aim of progressing in that effort? Do you think it is a possibility that we just stay still in Param Dham and just surrendered, like no commentary in the mind? I mean, is it something that is achievable? And is that when the cleaning process starts?
No, I think I'm going to reframe what you're saying, because you keep talking about reaching yourself as a destination. So who is meditating? Is it Gopi or is it the soul? Is it Gopi, the packaging of belief systems, habits, tendencies, and scars? Is that the person meditating? Because that person's seriously disturbed. And that identity is not who I really am, which is the soul. So when I'm meditating, if it's Gopi that's meditating, she'll think like you think. Oh, well, I have to reach somewhere to become who I am. Whereas when I realize who is actually here wanting to be peaceful, it's the voice of the soul. I am the soul. So all I'm doing is coming back to myself now. I'm just like we had a moment of stillness in the beginning. We just let the ripples go and we were just present now in peace. It's the soul that's meditating. It's not the artificial identity, the construct of what you think you are, the person you carry around in your head. That's not the person meditating, because that person's thinking all the time. And so you're trying to think your way to stillness. It's impossible. You've got to just take off that costume and just say to that person for a little while, just sit down quietly for a few moments. Right? It's a bit like an actor, an actor's never on the stage the whole time and he changes costumes and roles. So just take off your costume, put it down for a while and just go breathe a little and just let the energy of the being take over. So it's now, it's right now, it's who you are. And all you're doing is just dropping back into who you are. So this is where people who perhaps haven't clarified identity, the identity lesson for them, you might need to go back to that lesson again. Who am I? Who am I really? And who's actually thinking these thoughts? So, you know, as you were speaking, if I was in your shoes, for example, I would even stop that track of thought, because that's Gopi's track of thinking, for example. I'd say, look, you're thinking too much. Just sit down and be peaceful. Honestly, that's how I handle myself sometimes. Because, you know, Gopi has such a nature and a set of sanskars that wants to take over everything. You want to take over being perfect, take over. And actually, Gopi has to die. This costume is redundant. It's a very small part of who I am. And so managing yourself and your thought processes and just saying, well, who is thinking this right now? Is it the packaging of my acquired identity, Gopi, or whatever my name is in this life and the image that's attached to it? Or is this really the voice of the soul? And if it's not the voice of the soul, then just park those thoughts and concentrate on the method to be now, here. It's not difficult. We did it at the beginning of the session. It's an exercise of introversion.
Practice, but I'm just trying to see whether you know, I mean, being open to what unfolds in the meditation rather than having a plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, in each moment, it's going to be different. One of the stresses people experience in meditation is that they had a beautiful experience last week. Then they sit down and they want to repeat that same experience. Right? And guess what? The time has changed. The moment has changed. Everything has changed. So if you don't go back to a place of being and then patiently watch what's happening, just go and sit in the lap of the Supreme and see what happens. Because at that point, you'll get a new experience. Something else will be downloaded. There'll be a fresh perspective opened. So when Ashok Bhai was talking about the full stop, you know, the full stop has so many things in it. It's dropping into a little point. Let yourself just drop into a point of being with God. It's like being with a person. You know, throughout the day when you're with someone, you don't keep on going, you listen. You spend time with that person. And so when you think of God's energy as a presence in your life, then putting a full stop is just letting yourself be in the presence of God. Because God is the most silent and pure energy in the world. And then watching what manifests, what God's presence will draw out of the soul. Because it's God's job to purify me. If I could have purified myself, I would have done it ages ago. And so when we step into and we trust that relationship, then you can Tai Chi with it. And then it becomes so natural inside. And yes, the full stop is an important practice because it's a practice of stopping the thoughts of Gopi and just saying, that's enough, divert her somewhere else. And so also don't fall into the trap of trying to understand everything. I think that's another trap people try to do. They try to think, well, if I understand all the questions, I have the answers to everything, then I'll be able to practice it. Actually, no, practice comes first. I mean, look at a little baby. A baby hasn't swallowed an encyclopedia, and yet it lives like a master. A tiny little baby can control an entire household. It's quite amazing to watch. Every adult in a household will go gaga over a baby. And yet it has zero intellectual ability at that stage. So when you're talking about, if you want to know what really pure energy is and the power that and influence that can have, think of the energy of the baby. And that's latent within all of us. It's a state we've all experienced, but we've forgotten. Okay.
So
that brings a lot of insight.
Thank you so much, Sister Gopi. We haven't realized it's being 12 now, but we would want a meditative session from you soon. So what I thought is I'll just make a few quick announcements so then the people can leave with the meditative feeling. Is that okay? I'll just take a couple of
Sure.
minutes.
Sure,
Yeah, and I'll
sure.
just do the few announcements for the future. So I'll just
Sure.
share the screen. Yeah. So all of you, I would just want you all to concentrate on what I'm sharing now. So we are so privileged, and I don't feel like leaving Sister Gopi, but I have to do this. So these are the few workshops we have done so far. We celebrated love in the month of February, a special 3 workshops on that. And we have started since December. So all these recordings are available, as Anu's sister has told you. You can keep in touch, and we'll be emailing you also all that. So don't need to worry. There are quite a few new participants who have joined. So thank you for being interactive, and we will be keeping in touch with you for our future episodes and workshops. And let me just quickly make a few announcements for our routine things. The next episode for Values for Life series is on knowledge. We are doing it on 11th April. Sister Santosh, who is the director of Brahma Kumaris at St. Petersburg, Russia, she has kindly consented to do that. So it will be on knowledge. Again, same 1 hour session, 8 p.m. usual India time. And we have quite a few joining from the west coast of Canada. So it will be 7:30 time. And we'll be also emailing you and WhatsApping you the details again. Followed by this, as we normally do 1 week later, after that, we do the experiential exercises on knowledge. It will be on Sunday, 18th April. I would love that if Sister Gopi can also join us, but I'll keep in touch with her and see how her availability is. But it will be really beautiful to have her again consecutively for the second time. So that will be again a 1.5 hour workshop as we are doing it right now. And for more information on the values workshops, you can just email us at vihasaindia@gmail.com. And our website is vihasa.in. And you can WhatsApp on this number for any comments and queries if you have. So I'll just stop sharing. And it was beautiful, lovely. It's exactly 12, but we feel it should go on for another half an hour as well. If there are any things which you want to share, sister, but we would want to go in the meditative mode with you. And over to
Yes,
you.
we can go on, Gopi sister. We don't want you to stop. But I think we have to. But can we take a picture before we do the meditation?
Yeah, I
We
think
can
that also
take
is
it.
fine. Thanks for reminding. So we can just, all of us, if you all can just click your video cameras on. Why we are doing this is because we don't want you all to disturb yourself after the meditation. So we'll just do it right now. So all of you, if you don't hesitate to open your cameras. Okay, thank you. Quite a few of you all have done. So Anu sister, you can go ahead and.
Yes, thank you to everyone. So let's bring out that your smile. Everybody mute yourself though. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Let me take one more. Thank you very much. I got it. So we can move to the. Thank you, Devi.
Should I play some soft music in the background? Is that okay?
Not at all. No, that's fine. Silence is fine.
Okay, okay, fine.
Okay, so once again, wherever you are, give yourself the respect of sitting up well, properly. Just bring your attention back into this present moment now. You've had a wonderful exchange over the last couple of hours, and it must have left a very sweet fragrance in your heart and your mind. That sweet feeling is a sweet feeling of truth. Something very pure inside has awakened in you. And just focus on the sweetness of the feeling inside. And let it grow. Let this sweet feeling expand and fill your heart and fill your mind. And to know that at this point, the core of who you are is this sweetness and goodness. Beyond the costume of this body, you are a living lamp of light, of peace, and of pure feelings. These pure feelings are intrinsically your original nature. And it's so nice to come home again to the pure self, the living soul. And a very natural serenity envelops you. And as a soul, you are aware that you are not alone. As sweet as you are, even sweeter is your parent. That supreme being that is the ocean of love, the ocean of peace, the ocean of knowledge, the ocean of bliss. You are a child of the ocean. And in this moment now, you let everything else go and stay in this beautiful free space of being God's child. Hand over all worries and burdens to your parent. And let yourself be a carefree child. And a feeling of beautiful lightness washes over you. I am a soul that is free and light in the company of my parent. Say this to yourself. I am a soul that is free and light in the company of my parent. And as I bathe in this ocean, everything is cleansed. My attitude, my vision, my mind. I am at peace now. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you, Gopi sister, once again. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, sister. Thank you, everyone.